Hi, I'm Justin Boyd.
I am George Luna.
I'm Brittany Pacheco,
And I'm classic Loki.
and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to another edition of the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to talk to you about the fifth episode of the Marvel Studios series Loki. The episode is titled, dramatic pause, Journey into Mystery. So before we break it all down, what did y'all think about the fifth episode overall? I'll go to George first.
Overall, it's pretty badass. I liked it. Honestly, the fourth episode was the best one so far. I think this one was a little bit lower in my rankings of all the episodes, but we got to see a lot of Lokis. I thought that was really cool. And then some stuff leading towards the end that we get to find out next episode, which I'm excited for.
Brittany, what'd you think about it?
Yeah, everything that George says, I agree with. It wasn't my favorite episode in the season, but it definitely progressed the story. The fact that I finally got to see the scene of Loki in the suit with the vote for me, President Loki, as we're going to call him. So I was happy to finally see that scene come to pass. But yeah, I still just can't believe that we only have next week, for the finale, and there's just still so much we need to uncover, obviously. So it's a great series. It's a great storyline, I feel, and I'm going to toss it over to Frank about his thoughts.
I don't know, man. I'm not really feeling this shit. Like these episodes are too short for me, and for it to be one episode left, y'all better roll out a 90-minute episode or something, man, to cover all that needs to be covered. Because between Sylvie's conquest, between Loki's trying to find his purpose, between the TVA or who they are, it's just a lot to cover with one episode left. So Marvel hasn't let me down yet with these shows, but I'm really concerned on how they're gonna be able to wrap all this shit up in one episode next week.
I agree with you, Frank, because then, like, how are they going to answer, like, all this stuff? Like, say the multiverse is fucked up. Like, we're going to have to wait a long ass time for those those questions to be answered. So I'm on the same boat as Frank. I'm curious what's going to happen, because we're going to have to wait a long ass time to find out.
Exactly, and with I know Black Widow comes out Friday, but that's a backstory.
Nothing to do with this. Even the Eternals or Shang-Chi, who knows?
Well, and then there's rumors that there could be a second season for Loki. So, again, I don't know how true that may be, but then again, when will that come to pass? So I don't know. Justin, what do you think of the episode?
Yeah, I like the episode. I agree with George. I think it's probably the second best, or it's not as good as last week's episode, but solid episode. I don't mind the length of the episodes. I think it's fine. It's kind of the same length that we got with Falcon and Winter Soldier. So it's 45, 50 minutes. That's good enough for me. As far as what's going to happen in the finale, or if they're going to wrap it up, I think that we've seen from the previous two series that there's going to be some kind of conclusion. It may not be the be all end all answer to everything, but yeah, they'll find a way. I mean, this show has been the best show, I think, of the three so far, and so let's get into it. The episode, we open at the TVA headquarters, and then we see this like montage of, I guess, the lower levels of the building. We see a chopped off head of one of the timekeepers, and then we're sent to a place called the Void, which is a purgatory that appears to be set in a post-apocalyptic New York, but maybe not. I'm not sure. At the moment, I thought it was, because you could see Avengers Tower was there, and it was definitely like a cityscape. But then later on, I'm not sure. I think it's just a place where everything was like just messed up.
Did you notice that on the Avengers Tower that you were saying, it said Kang?
I didn't notice that. Good job.
So It said that, and supposedly that's a company that was run by Kang the Conqueror in the comic books or something like that. So I don't know. That's a little Easter. There was a lot of little Easter eggs.
There are Easter eggy stuff, but I did not notice that one.
Yeah, on that tower, they're the company that bought the Avengers Tower when Tony sold it.
Okay. Good catch by you, because I didn't catch that either. I mean,
but Kang is spelled different. It's not spelled like Kang. It was spelled like Qu something like that, Aneng or something like that.
Oh, then even if I would have seen it, I wouldn't have put those two together. I don't think.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So we pick back up. We see Loki and the four variants that he met at the in the post or mid credit scene in episode 4. He's there with boastful Loki, classic Loki, Kid Loki, and the alligator Loki, which I don't know if he has another name besides alligator Loki.
Croaky.
But Croaky,
Still gonna call
right?
him Croaky. Yeah, I don't care if it's an
yeah.
alligator. It's Croaky.
No.
Yeah, well, I think we should do like a separate episode where we break down the difference between alligator and crocodiles. I don't know. We'll do that some other time. But so the variants in Loki they're looking to hide from this dark sky monster cloud. What did y'all think about Eliath?
So initially I thought Eliath was inhabiting that space like it did with Lamentus, because it's got that same kind of cloudy, purple pink kind of, vibe to it. And I don't know. To me, I thought there was a connection, or even like, what was it in Doctor Strange, Dormammu or something like that. I thought it was, of that essence, but the fact that it looks like it just devours everything that's in this void, which, by the way, the title of this episode was Journey into Mystery. I honestly feel like it should have just been called The Void. Would have been a better title. Sidebar.
I agree with you. I agree.
But anyway, the fact that Eliath like exists, to what we eventually find out later, is that all the variants that are pruned, go to this void, this purgatory, and Eliath basically is the barrier between staying there and getting out. In other words, they don't get out. So we think. Right. But yeah, that the very cloudy feature kind of thing. And then it made me think of a lot of different things. Also, I don't know if you've watched the movie James and the Giant Peach, but the rhino in the sky that, would eat little kids. Okay, it doesn't matter. Kind of thought the same thing. But anyway. Frank, what'd you think?
Of the cloud?
Of Eliath, yeah.
It's like whatever. I feel like I was watching. I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the episode as a whole. They spent way too much time in that damn cloud. I feel like I was watching Wizard of Oz or Snow White. I don't like. I will say this: whatever that cloud's protecting or the guard on, it better be something grand. It better be something fucking grand, because if it's something that's not, I'm gonna be really disappointed in this whole damn season. Because most of this episode is about this damn cloud.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't think
true.
it's gonna be something grand, dude. Like I think we're gonna be teased into something. I don't think they're gonna explain everything.
Yeah, it's just like we don't have time to like pussyfoot around and throw little diversions here. There's 6 episodes, so you need to get straight to the point. One thing I liked about Falcon Winter Soldier and WandaVision is that there was some I guess some twists and turns, but they got to the point and it wrapped up perfectly towards the end of both those shows. And there's so much to uncover here. And like you said, George, maybe they answer that in Multiverse of Madness or in Spider-Man. I don't know, but that's such a long ass gap in time to fill out to answer these questions if they don't wrap it up adequately in the next Wednesday.
Yeah, hopefully. I hope they do, which I think they will, but I think it's going to be more of a teaser than anything.
Yeah.
When I first saw Eliath, I thought it was like a zombie version of those like giant space worms that were in Avengers and then also in Endgame. That's what I thought it was at first.
Like that big ass
whatever those things are called. So anyway, so we flash back to the TVA and Sylvie is questioning Renslayer. Renslayer basically says she doesn't know who's in charge of the TVA.
She's lying.
She's definitely lying. But then she also tells Sylvie that, hey, Loki's not dead and I can help you, figure out, I can help you find him. And then we can figure out who's in charge of the TVA, because she says she doesn't know either. But then she says something I thought was kind of weird. She goes, nothing ever comes back from the void. So her plan is to team up and then save Loki. But then she also says, well, but we can't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did y'all hear that? Like it just seemed
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it made no sense.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta
Because even
say, go ahead.
I was going to say, even with the temp pad, I mean, if obviously, Sylvie, even if Renslayer had gone to the void with Sylvie, the temp pad is what's going to get you back, obviously. And honestly, that's what I thought would happen when Loki had met the other Lokis, because he even suggested about using a temp pad and things like that. And in my head, I'm like, oh, he still has it. The one that we thought was broken, I thought he was just gonna like pull it out and be like, let's go. But no, that wasn't the case. But anyway, but the temp pad obviously was the savior of getting out from the void.
I think that Ravonna, whatever her fucking name is she's lying. Like she knows like who's controlling it and just playing stupid. And also, that did anyone notice like Miss Minutes was kind of like sketchy like this episode? She was so sus. Like she was like trying to create like fake explanations for stuff and making up things like, and not trying to find the files for her because she never found them this episode of the beginning of time. So I don't know. I thought that was kind of sketchy.
Yeah, I
For
mean, she
sure.
is a creation of the TVA, so that's kind of what I expected. Like even though she has a friendly voice, she's not, on Sylvie's side or Loki's side or
Watch Miss Minutes be like the evil villain this whole fucking that would be
She
fucking
might
funny.
be.
It was Miss
That'd
Minutes
be
all
so
along.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Agatha. It's just Agatha and Miss Minutes, kind of. There's your connection. No, I thought it was what George was saying about Miss Minutes, how she was kind of like, just wasting time until obviously, well, I'm jumping ahead, of course, but yeah, she was in on whatever it was Ravonna was like trying to do, stall for time. It to me, this is a big stretch, y'all, but to me it was like, oh, well, by talking about this prototype thing that really doesn't exist, it's kind of almost like a protocol kind of thing where that's how like others are informed. Because how the hell did the people like the hunters or soldiers, whatever they're called, know to go into that courtroom and that kind of thing? But anyway, that's just me being really nitpicky. But who maybe Miss Minutes is behind all this.
That'd be so crazy.
That'd be really silly. But
I'd be so mad. I'd be very upset if that was the actual case.
Who knows? You never know. So then we get a good scene where the variants are with Loki, and he wants a plan, and they're on the run, and they said, hey, our plan is to don't die, and Loki survive. And Kid Loki is definitely the leader, which our Loki recognizes right away, and he asked the kid, he's like, hey, what was your Nexus event?
That was
he says he killed Thor.
Damn.
That part was pretty interesting to hear. And then it leads to some very interesting Easter eggs right after that. We see, maybe I'm wrong about this. I don't know. Did y'all see this? Did y'all see a giant Iron Man helmet? Or am I off on that? Because there was a beheaded statue. I thought it looked like Iron Man's helmet.
It's a guy from the Wasp, Ant-Man and the Wasp. It was the Wasp helmet. Remember
it was?
Okay. I looked that one up. And you remember how he disappeared or whatever, and supposedly he went to the void. So he might be around there.
Very interesting.
Did not see that. And there's a helicopter with Thanos written on the side of it.
Yep, saw that.
That was cool.
And then we see the Lokis, they all go down a hatch. This is where we see Thor's hammer. And we see a frog version of Thor trapped in a glass jar.
Yep.
So explain this to me. What were y'all thinking when you saw the glass jar with the frog Thor?
How the hell is he still alive? I mean, because he's buried in the ground in a glass jar, obviously trying to reach Mjolnir, but he can't, obviously. So how the hell is this frog version of Thor? Why is he a frog too? Why is there a crocodile, an alligator Loki? I'm still going to call him Croaky. Why? I have so many questions.
Do you think the alligator Loki is the Loki to the frog Thor's Thor?
That's possible.
Probably, but then why is Thor there? Why is Thor or a variant of Thor in the void as well? You know what I'm saying?
Maybe he wasn't supposed to be there.
It was captured by the TVA, right? Because there is some like writing on
Yeah.
the jar. There's like a number, like a serial number or whatever. I noticed that because I paused it.
Yeah,
So I assume that's another TVA deal.
Yeah, that
perhaps.
the 130, it was like C-135 or something. But
Yeah,
supposedly that's a comic book
a
number of,
reference.
yeah,
Yeah.
to the frog,
Yeah, it seems like in these shows, anytime there's a reference to a number, it's always a reference to a comic
to a
book
comic
issue.
book for sure.
Yeah,
It is.
Definitely.
It is.
yeah. So Frank, what'd you think about the Frog Thor? All these like Easter eggs we just talked about.
My first thought was there a variant Thor that got in trouble and got zapped into that and they got zapped there and got stuck in, I don't know, cement or whatever that was. Was it multiple Thors or was that Frog Thor's hammer? If so, that's a big ass hammer for a small ass frog. Um, I don't know. I was high when I watched it too, so I wasn't sure. I had to rerun it twice because I thought I was rewatching. I thought I was listening for a second. I was like, no, that's an actual frog. It's Thor. It's an actual hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what that meant. I mean, maybe it was just a throw in that scene when they was going back down into their lair or whatever. But yeah, it was completely random as fuck. To be honest, I don't know what to make of it.
The other thing that was I think it was within the ground, of them going into the hatch, where to me it looked like a lot of food trays, like cafeteria style food trays, which
Okay.
I'm like, what's the significance behind that? Like, how are these variants surviving in the void? Do they still have those basic needs of eating, sleeping, that kind of thing? Like, and if so, like, where are
Right.
they getting all this stuff, right? Because when they do finally get into the hatch, I mean, it's pretty badass. It's completely filled, decorated, whatever.
Yeah, it's like a bowling alley. It's a
Yeah,
rundown bowling alley. Yeah.
right. And Kid Loki's got his throne with, I don't know, what were they, like candy canes or something like that? It was
Yeah,
kind of
there's
strange.
candy canes everywhere. Yeah.
It was kind of strange, but from there, like all the Lokis get together and they start talking about their Nexus event, and boastful Loki talks about how he, I guess, defeated Captain America and Iron Man, and ascended
He
to
claimed
what?
all the Infinity Stones. Said he got all
There you
6 of
go.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, what? What is happening here? And then somehow the alligator, like, as it hisses or growls or whatever, it's understood by classic Loki. Richard E. Grant.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Well, and then the next part is after what you said about boastful Loki, classic Loki like says, obviously you're lying, and that's what the hissing was from the
Yeah.
gator, and the gator attacks boastful Loki when he says, well, at least my Nexus event wasn't eating the wrong cat or something like that, or the wrong neighbor's cat, or I'm sure that's some reference to like
God.
Captain Marvel, or like,
Maybe, right?
because there was a cat
Yeah.
in that, right? Like
There was.
was it called Flurkin or something?
Yeah.
That
I don't
sounded like the
remember that.
Icelandic Olympic Games from The Office. Sorry.
Oh,
That's-
no, you think maybe I think you're right about that.
Flunkerton is it from the
Yeah.
office. No, but you're right, Jay. I think it's like Flurkin or something like that.
But as classic Loki is talking, he, Kid Loki says to classic Loki, like, tell us your Nexus event, and because Loki, the Loki that we know, is interested. He wants to know what happened. And it was really interesting about that conversation, because what I picked up on that was, classic Loki said that he lived his life according to what the timeline specified, right? And the only reason why he got caught is because after Thanos had taken over their ship, right? He did his illusion projection, whatever, and escaped, to solitude or whatever. And when he was going to leave that solitude, that's when he got picked up by the TVA. What was really interesting about that story was the fact that classic Loki basically, I guess, had the same life as Loki that we see in the movies, because
Right.
Thanos did, get on the ship and did kill, everyone on the ship, as well as Loki. So it's like, okay, there's different Lokis, but are they all living that same timeline?
I don't think
Am I-
so because Kid Loki killed Thor, and nowhere in Loki in the 616 timeline did Loki try killing Thor.
But that's the Nexus event. That's what shouldn't have happened. That's
Mhm.
why they were pruned. What I'm saying is, do all Lokis have virtually the same timeline? It's just that these variants that we have, they're all the ones that deviated from that timeline, therefore got arrested by the TVA, therefore got pruned, and are therefore in the void. Because like I'm saying, classic Loki, like obviously lived, until old age. And like, why would two Lokis have the same storyline of Thanos, approaching their ship? You see what I'm saying?
What if
Like that.
what if
Yeah.
that's our Loki from the MCU timeline and he actually escaped and he never died?
Good
And
point.
Right.
that's just him.
That's a good point.
So that
Right.
could
So
be him. It could be just his timeline and we don't know.
Because other Lokis didn't mention the Thanos in their timeline.
Exactly. Well,
Right.
no, the other guy, did the other guy say that he took the Infinity Stones from Thanos,
Yeah,
yeah.
or
So
did
that's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't think he said he took them from Thanos, but they were
They-
talking
he
about
just
Thanos. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he said
okay?
also the Infinity Stones. He didn't say from who or where.
Okay.
Right.
right.
I don't
But
know.
it, to me, in ways, it would seem like, okay, here's the Loki timeline, right? We've got very different variations of Loki. They're all living the exact same timeline. It's just that when they deviate, there's the Nexus event, et cetera, what we know now. To me, like I said, it was just really interesting to hear that classic Loki and present Loki experience the same events. And
Uh,
that's what it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one major question I would hope could be answered, but I doubt that's going to happen, because I think the whole focus will be about discovering who is in charge of the TVA, who the timekeepers really are. Timekeepers? Yeah, timekeepers
Yeah.
really are. And that's going to be the focus. But like, these little holes are just kind of like, I don't know, they're going to bother me. So
mhm.
just
Yeah,
saying.
it seems like with classic Loki, his Nexus event is the fact that he didn't die at the hand of Thanos because he hid. Then when he came out from hiding because he said he was lonely, that's when he was apprehended by the TVA. So, classic Loki, he calls Loki's we're the god of outcasts. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Um, this is one of my favorite parts of the episode was you see all the Lokis sitting around there drinking wine, except for Kid Loki. He's drinking the High C Ecto Cooler.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day, those were awesome. I honestly don't remember what they taste like, but I remember I loved them. Like, they were delicious. I don't even know, are they back? Because there's a lot of Ghostbusters stuff that's coming. There's a new Ghostbusters movie that I think that's coming out this
I
year.
wish.
I bet they come back. I bet they're bringing them back. But
Oh, goodness.
do y'all have any fond memories of Ecto Cooler or High C?
Oh yeah. I used to love those ICs. The ones in the little box.
In in an apocalyptic world, where the fuck did he get a high C?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, maybe Kid Loki's a kid of the 80s and early 90s or something.
Yeah.
That's the only way that could explain that.
I think I'm the only one here who is not a huge fan of High C. Sorry.
I love High C.
Yeah.
Not my jam.
I like that one. I don't really remember any others that much. I didn't have it very often. It was kind of a special deal when I got to have a High C. So
Have y'all been to Wendy's and they have like the machine with all the flavors?
Yeah. It's
Well, they have High
Oh,
C.
yeah.
They have so many flavors of High C. The strawberry one is delicious.
yeah,
my
Wingstop
gosh.
has one of those machines too.
Yes.
I haven't
Yeah,
been
yeah,
to a
yeah.
Wendy's in a while, but Wingstop definitely
yeah.
has that. Yeah.
Exactly.
We digress. We digress.
I
Come
know.
on, guys.
So
We'll
Talk
do a
about
whole
High C
pod on
all
IC
day.
one day.
So our Loki's plan at this little get together of all the Lokis, his plan is to kill Goliath and return to the TVA to help Sylvie.
Easy.
Right. They all laugh about it. So he's like, okay, I'm out of here. So he goes back up the hatch, only to see another version of himself with a horde of people. This is with what we're calling President Loki, which I'm not sure if that's the name, but
It's
that's
the
the name
name.
we're going with. Yeah.
It's the name.
So, okay. So before we get too far, I want to go back to Renslayer whenever she double crosses Sylvie, which of course none of us saw that coming. Renslayer
She's
asks,
so trustworthy.
right. She asked Miss Minutes to retrieve some files, like we talked about a little bit ago. And then they start talking about the timeline stuff. And I got to say, my eyes were just glazing over. Like, I was trying to take notes and I'm just like, oh, this like gobbledygook of timelines and Nexus events. And like, okay. But anyway, double cross Sylvie. The officers come to get her, and Sylvie does something that I don't think anyone had thought of. Her way to escape, she prunes herself, and she's sent to the void. So
Before that, though, when she's hiding, Sylvie's hiding from Renslayer and the hunters or whatever, that Renslayer says, "I'll put you in a time loop, and it'll be a good memory. You have to have one good memory." And Sylvie's like, I have one, and I'm
Right.
curious, what's that one good memory? Is it when she was a child, or when she maybe met this Loki? Because that we'll see something between the two later, obviously. But for me, I was just kind of like, I wonder what her good memory would be if she were to be stuck in a time loop.
I think we're meant to believe that it's when she met this Loki.
Yeah.
Don't y'all think so?
Maybe.
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, we've only seen so much from her life, so
Yeah.
Yeah. I still want to know what was her Nexus event, like what all that was. But
yeah,
but the
hopefully
fact
we'll
that
find that out.
Yeah, but the fact that she had the pruning stick, and then it looked like she was going to use it on them, but then puts it on herself. It's like, whoa, that was a little surprising. And then Renslayer is like, "Oh, good, she's dead." I'm like, bitch, she's not dead. They all go to the void.
Yeah, once again, I noticed that too. I was like, what are you saying? Like, you're just like
You're just saying words.
I think she was lying to the guards.
to the guards because they don't know.
Ah,
yeah,
that's
because
true.
they don't even
Okay.
know their variants. There you go, George.
Exactly.
Good job. You figured it out.
She was lying to them, like,
Okay.
Yeah,
and even the guard was looking like, really?
right.
You're right.
It's like, why
Right.
would she do that?
Right. Okay. Fair point. All right. We got that cleared up. Yay for George.
And George, you're like figuring out everything. You're like True Detective.
True
this show,
For real.
figuring it all out. Like time is a flat circle.
What I want to figure out is how
He's
the
a variant.
how did Mobius know, like, was there at the right place at the right time?
Oh,
That's
I
what I
know.
find
Well,
unbelievable.
That's actually what we're about to talk about. So Sylvie wakes up in a school bus in the void, and she's being chased by Eliath. And I don't know did y'all notice, like, when she woke up, there was like an egg next to her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was
I
wonder what that's all about, but I don't think we are going to get a payoff for
Well, but there are those little bird type
that.
creature
Those bird things. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that's probably what
Like,
it was.
That's
with the
probably
weird-
that's definitely the
with
head.
the weird
like a ball as a
levitating head.
yeah,
It just levitates on its own. It's weird.
they're like peacock colored
Mm-hmm.
headless-
Dodos.
Yeah, something.
They're like
So-
the size of dodos.
Sylvie breaks out of the bus, and she's running away from Eliath, and then she's suddenly discovered by a pizza delivery car driven by Mobius. So Mobius is back.
We saw it coming. Like, we knew he was going to come back, but like, how did he know that she was going to be there? Like, what are the chances?
Yeah, and that's my question regarding Renslayer. When she pruned Morbius, why didn't she take away his TEM pad? Because now Morbius had it out the whole time, even though he got to this place in the first place.
I don't think he had one, Frank.
Mm-mm.
So
He didn't have one.
So what,
Yeah, he didn't have one.
He got it from Sylvie. Sylvie
Mhm.
had one.
Oh,
so
Because
they gave it-
she took Renslayer's
Yeah.
before she pruned herself.
So in the last episode, right before Morbius got pruned, did Renslayer take his TEM pad?
No.
She did.
Wait.
She took, remember with the switch, right?
Mm.
Mobius got hers. She came to his office to get hers back. So then now she has two. She has his original one and then hers. And then he got pruned. That was it. So he went into the void without a TEM pad.
So she has right now. They still have a TEM pad.
Wait, I'm confused. I could have swore when when Morbius got caught by Renslayer and he was like, "Hey, I think I picked the wrong TEM pad." Did she confiscate that one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
She did.
I thought you had one on the whole time. Okay.
No. So we'll get to it, but yes, the way that Mobius is able to leave the void is through a TEM pad that Sylvie had picked up from Renslayer before the hunters came in and all that other jazz. So
Okay.
but it is curious, like how the fact that, because I thought at one point when Renslayer and Sylvie were talking and Miss Minutes was there, that's how Miss Minutes was being used, right? Was with the TEM pad that Renslayer had, but then somehow Sylvie got it back. I don't know. I might have missed that point.
Yeah, I'm with you, Frank. I was kind of confused by that. Maybe they should only have there should only be one temp pad. Like there's too many
Right.
temp pads that are like
Mm,
in the wild. Maybe just one or something. So
yeah.
the next scene is we get to see all the Lokis basically double cross each other. It starts with boastful Loki. He puts the sword to the throat of Kid Loki, saying he infiltrated the group so he could help the President Loki guy. And then President Loki's like, no, that's not how this is going to go. He double crosses boastful Loki. And then as he's giving his spiel about how he's going to take over everything, his horde, they turn on him, knives out on everybody. Battle ensues. The alligator bites the hand off the leader Loki, off the President Loki.
That was funny.
And then Kid Loki, classic Loki, and the gator escape. What did y'all think about the action scene here?
I was just gonna say that was the funniest part for me is when Croaky got to bite that hand off. And classic Loki is so powerful, man. Like it's crazy. And we got a glimpse like this during this fight scene.
Right.
That I didn't know that Loki's could like make a portal to walk through stuff and like create like a copy of himself that he's actually physically fighting there. I thought that, I don't know, that, and then what we see towards the end is unreal. So I didn't know he was that strong.
So this kind of goes to what I was saying in our last pod about it seems like superior Loki could be superior when they all exist, because it seems like all these variants perhaps have different skill sets, different powers that not one Loki possesses as a whole. So because why couldn't the Loki that we know just teleport that kind of way? Because he couldn't unless he had the Tesseract, and that's how obviously he escaped 2012. So and he can't enchant like Sylvie can, well, up until that point. So you see what I'm saying? It's like it seems to be a superior Loki. You need to have them all. You have to be able to possess all those same powers at once. Because I thought the same thing too with classic Loki, being able to project like not just himself, but like other multiple Lokis within that fight and then be able to escape. But yeah, with Croaky taking off the hand of President Loki, I'm like, oh my God, it's like Chubbs, and Happy Gilmore.
Yep.
Like we're totally following that. It was great. And the fact that this President Loki is for what we know, the only Loki that looks like 2012 Loki.
Okay. Mobius and Sylvie, we see them together, and Sylvie tells Mobius to, we have to turn around. We have to face the angry cloud. So they're driving away. Now suddenly they're turn around and heading back to face the thing. Then the next part, honestly, was the part I understood the least of the whole show. We see a naval battleship suddenly appear in a field, and it's meant to kind of, I guess, give a distraction to Goliath, and he destroys it like in seconds. Mobius and Sylvie kind of drive up, and they meet the other Lokis, and then she gives us her plan, which is her plan is to enchant the cloud monster because she thinks it's a guard dog for whatever, it's protecting something, whether the TVA or whatever. But back to the battleship, what did Kid Loki make the battleship appear? Because he had the controller in his hand. Like I did not understand that at all. What did y'all say?
It was just like an Easter egg. That's like another thing. Like a whole bunch of stuff was dropping randomly into the void. Like there was stuff all throughout the episode, just random stuff falling, and that was one of the things. But the Easter egg is that a ship was like in the Philadelphia experiment or whatever, and there's like a whole bunch of conspiracy theories that this ship teleported to New York or something like that. And there's just read about it on the internet. It's kind of weird, but that was the ship that was there was the ship that disappeared.
Oh, because it said like USS starts with an E. I can't think of it.
Eldridge
right
or something like
Eldridge,
that.
Yeah, I caught that too, and I was just like, wait a minute, what did they do to be sent to the void?
It's that ship.
That makes sense. That makes sense now.
They wondered where it disappeared to.
But I noticed too, Justin, that little like remote controller thing that Kid Loki had, and I thought maybe because he's got some powers, he could like create the weapon and make it disappear or whatever. But like, I thought that he too was the one who like dropped that ship into the location, and thus everything else happened.
So it continues. Renslayer goes to see B-15, who is one of the TVA officers, and she's locked up in a cell. Renslayer asks B-15 about Sylvie and her experience with, I guess, being enchanted by her or whatever the phrasing was.
They had a connection.
Yeah, the connection. And then once again, we see Renslayer asking Miss Minutes for all the files on the founding of the TVA.
She never gave it to her.
Never did. No. Then we get a scene where Mobius is talking with the variants. Thought that was kind of a, neat little scene because he has only dealt with the other two Loki variants, and then he meets all these other ones, including an alligator, which he says he doesn't remember the TVA arresting, but he's like, I guess they did.
Maybe that goes into George's theory about there's multiple Mobiuses. Like this Mobius doesn't remember that alligator, but maybe a different
another one does. Yeah.
Because the fact that classic Loki would be like, oh, you don't remember this one, like that to me kind of says like there is multiple Mobiuses, right? And maybe just by first glance, it's like, oh, you're the one that did all this, but it's not the right Mobius. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Now the next thing is, and we're getting toward the end here. The big kind of touching moment we have, Loki and Sylvie are talking about Mobius and his theory about the Nexus event, and they're both kind of playing it off like that they have feelings for each other, but maybe they don't, but they do, but they don't want to like recognize that. So we see that, and it's cold outside, so Loki conjures up a blanket for both of them, which once again, kind of what you're talking about earlier, Brittany. It's like I feel like the powers of Loki, of all these Lokis, are underutilized. I feel like there's a lot of stuff they can do that they just don't, and that's probably for budget reasons because you can't have a ton of CGI every second. But anyway, so Sylvie asks, how will she know that once they get to the end that Loki won't betray her? And he says, that's not who I am anymore. And then he asks her, he's like, what are you gonna do when else is over? She says she's not sure. He says, maybe we can figure it out together. So another little touching moment between the two.
Heart. Maybe 2012 Loki will finally rule as Sylvie suggested, and maybe she'll rule by his side. I don't know.
I think it just sets us up for a heartbreaking ending where she dies in the finale.
Probably.
Or,
Probably.
I hope not.
But I don't know. We'll see. So then the group faces the angry cloud. The Lokis, for whatever reason, decide they want to stay in the void. And when I say the Lokis, I mean Kid Loki, Classic Loki, and the Gator Loki. Mobius then takes the TemPad that we talked about earlier. He gets the TemPad from Sylvie, and he's headed back to the TVA.
He's gonna fuck shit up.
Yeah, he says he's gonna go burn it to the ground. Talking about the TVA, which is what Loki said he wanted to do the TVA in one of the first couple episodes. Then they share a hug, and Mobius is gone. And now we get to the final scene where Loki and Sylvie are taking on the cloud. To distract the cloud, he was given a sword or a dagger by Kid Loki. So he takes that. He runs one direction to distract Goliath, the cloud. And then Sylvie tries to enchant it. And then at this point, we talk like what George was mentioning earlier. So we see classic Loki out of nowhere. He has this power to bring this illusion, which was the illusion of Asgard. Is that what he was bringing back? Okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was
he's like, at first I'm like, is he like rebuilding Asgard or is it just an illusion? I was confused by that part because I don't understand the powers totally.
I was too, a little bit, just like why Asgard, but I guess because the fact that that's like something recognizable, something Loki obviously came from, and in a way, because they had mentioned Ragnarok earlier in the episode about the destruction of Ragnarok, and not the same idea, but like Goliath, destroying quote unquote Asgard. But yeah, classic Loki, being quite powerful and still, raising it as it was being destroyed, bit by bit, and committed this ultimate sacrifice. He was consumed by Goliath and said, maniacally laughing, glorious purpose.
Yeah,
and
he's screaming that as he's being
and
swallowed by the cloud monster.
yeah, and all that remains is the horned helmet, looking quite, destructive as the other, like the tower and the other bits that are there in the void. Because at one point he did say that every time that Loki's try to change, then they're sent to the void. And so
Right.
if that's true, you can't escape the void. It's like the end of time, or they kind of try to explain that, which I didn't fully understand in this episode either. But
Same,
if there's
yeah.
nowhere to go from here, then you can change and maybe be a good person, be a good Loki, and obviously give yourself up for a greater cause, and that is your glorious purpose.
So there was something that Renslayer told Sylvie in the beginning of the episode before the soldiers broke in there. She said that when a Nexus event happens and Timekeeper's going there to reset the timeline, that branch is not eradicated. It's just
Right.
over,
Yes.
just moved over to like a void situation to where it doesn't grow anymore.
Mm-hmm.
To which I thought, well, shit, if that's the case, every Avengers movie that we were seeing, or every Thanos winning or Ultron taking over, those timelines are not eradicated. They're just there but didn't grow. So I think that line is going to play a huge part in the multiverse and like bringing other characters over, because if those timelines are still out there but not growing, who's to say that Sylvie and Loki don't merge those timelines into one, and all these different events all coming to one timeline.
Chaos magic, y'all. Yeah, I caught that too about the transferring of the timelines. And I'm glad you brought that up, Frank, because that was a really interesting point of that conversation. Is like, okay, well, we really can't even reset it. It's just a matter of transferring from one place to another, and then it goes off to die in a way because it can't keep growing. So yeah, that's a really, really good point. And I hope that point will be expanded upon when it comes to these other movies, and if we get a Loki season 2, like if that will come to pass. So
yeah, let's get the last part in, that we can break down the episode as a whole. So Sylvie takes Loki's hand, they begin to enchant the cloud, and then they defeat the cloud, and then we see a castle or something. I'm gonna throw to George. What do we see at the end? Because I didn't know.
I don't know. It looks like a hiding place or something like that. A magical hiding place. I have no idea. Also, she said like to enchant a human being was like, if they're strong-minded, it's very hard. This is like a fucking thing that devours like organic matter. Like you'd think it'd be a little bit harder than 2 people like to defeat this thing, but whatever.
Well,
So,
she was saying personally for herself. Now with 2 Lokis now, and
exactly 2 for that big ass thing. That's
To
not even a
which-
human, bro. You don't even know what that is.
to
But-
which Loki was all like, I don't know how to enchant. And she's like, yes, you do. And then somehow he's
Yeah.
able to. So yeah, that was weird.
I don't know. But whatever. But that's my only complaint. I was just like, okay. But yeah, I think it's just a magical hiding place, Jay. I think whoever's pulling the strings might be there, might not be. We don't fucking know.
Okay. Yeah, I just wasn't sure if it was meant to be something we should know, because I certainly didn't know. At
Oh, yeah,
first, I was
don't
like,
think
is that where Harry Potter lives? Like, that's what I thought. It looked like a Harry Potter type castle thing.
Definitely, that was
Just
Hogwarts.
in the middle of Hogwarts. So yeah,
Yeah, Justin's such a huge Harry Potter fan. That's he knows what
That's
the
the first
castle's
thing you
called.
thought of.
never said I was a fan. I watched the movies one time a piece. That's all.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
I watched
No,
it.
plot twist. What if that's where the timekeepers are being held, or they choose to stay, whatever? And
that's-
the whole protection of this Aliyah thing, if it is a guard dog, that's just their way of keeping themselves protected. They stay in the void because no one can escape in the void. And Renslayer really does know all about this, or maybe she's controlling them. I don't know. I mean, at this point, it's there is so much to cover, but the very fact that like the two Loki and Sylvie were able to enchant this Alioth and see inside its quote unquote mind or inside its existence. I don't know. It was really strange to see that. But it does support my theory of a superior Loki, has to come in contact with others in order to, be superior.
Do y'all have any other final thoughts on the episode?
Ready for next week.
Yeah, I hope that we'll get a lot of questions answered. I doubt that we were going to get everything answered, but I do hope that they wrap it up, very nicely and have it make sense. And that'll lead into the multiverse or Spider-Man or whatever it is that comes next. So, Frank, what are your thoughts?
They got a lot of explaining to do. They have a lot of explaining to do, and I'm really concerned about how this is going to end. If this is season 2 of Loki, fine, I'm cool with it. But if this is a one-off season and there's still a lot of unanswered questions and the storyline's not really fleshed out and gives me some type of closure, I'm gonna be very disappointed. So, because I like Loki now, I like Hiddleston. I think he's a great actor. I just want the show to be done right with some decent closure to it.
Do any of you all have predictions as to what may happen in the finale? I kind of talked about, my thing of the timekeepers, et cetera, but do you all have any other theories, predictions for the characters? Could they go back to their original timeline?
The timeline thing confuses me because if Loki goes back to his original timeline, does he go back to 2012 and does everything still happen in order from Thor Ragnarok to Infinity War when he dies, or does he rewrite everything from here on out, and which will create another branch? I don't know. It's very confusing. I don't know what happens if they do go back to their timelines.
My prediction, I said a second ago, I think Sylvie's going to die. I think that Loki will be the only Loki left. Our Loki will be the only Loki left. And I just want to kind of piggyback on something about the season 2. Like, I hope there is a season 2 also, but with these Marvel shows, because they have so much stuff like lined up in addition to movies and everything, I don't know when season 2 would be. So that's why it's kind of like, I don't think season 2 will be like next year around this time. If there is a season 2, it might not be for a couple of years. So that's why I don't know. I don't know that any of them were meant to have more than one season. So that's an unfortunate. But
Yeah.
George, what about your predictions or
I agree with you,
theories?
Jay. I don't think there might be. I think these are all one-off shows, and all the answers, the questions we have now will be answered in like movies later on, or like TV shows or whatever. But I think that's why they have it all planned out. So I don't know if we'll get a second season. I would like a second season, but I'm not gonna get my hopes up. But my prediction is maybe they live together or maybe they both die. Who knows? I have no idea. So
to have
Yeah.
Loki die twice. No.
Yeah, for real this time. I don't know.
Man.
I feel like they put too much work into his character development to have him just die like that. So maybe I think what we are gonna see might be just a Kang hint towards the end, because it would make sense, the most sense out of everything. Even if we don't see him like next episode, just like as like how we saw Thanos in the end of the Avengers movies. Like I think that's what we're gonna see.
Yeah, and I think that my other prediction would be that they don't die, but they somehow escape to another timeline, and then they're just kind of, I don't know if you want to say lost in time, or something where it's like it's interesting, but it's vague to where both characters could return in movies or in another show or something. I think that's probably what we're gonna see.
Do you guys think that they will destroy the TVA and that's everything's still gonna mess up? Do y'all still believe that?
I think on that note, I kind of would want Mobius to do it, for one, because he did say that he's going to burn it to the ground, but it would be a little bit more poetic for him to take down the thing that he was like most loyal to and really believed in. You know, that to me would just be very poetic. If he does it with or without the help of Loki and Sylvie, you know, whatever. But I think he'll probably, that'll be his like glorious purpose, if you will.
Yeah.
He takes down the TVA.
I think he definitely needs Sylvie and Loki's help though, for
Yeah.
sure. I don't think Mobius can do it by himself.
Maybe B-15, you know, because she's still in the TVA. Maybe she'll somehow get out and help him bring it down. I'm curious what's going to happen, obviously, with Renslayer. Like if she has to square off with Mobius once again, or, you know, is she going to be killed? That kind of thing. Will the timekeepers, you know, come to her and to her rescue? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
There's some definite uncertainty. But for me, I will stand by Mobius taking down the TVA, like, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a really good prediction. I think that's probably gonna happen in some form or fashion. And I think the TVA, I think it's gotta, you know, it's gonna go away. I don't think that's gonna carry over. Now, Kang and maybe Renslayer, they'll carry over, and of course Loki or one, you know, a pair of Lokis or whatever. But I don't think that's gonna carry over to anything else.
Yeah, it's just that if the TVA gets taken down, then what happens to all those variants that were plucked from their timelines? Do they get to go back to the timeline that they came from? Are they going to have any recollection whatsoever of what has happened? Or are they going to be properly reset and they just continue as if, you know, nothing changed? So, like I said, lots of questions. I'm hoping that we will get these answers in the season finale. But like y'all, I'm not holding my breath on a whole lot. I just hope that they end this season well.
Yeah, and I just thought of one final prediction. It's kind of the biggest layup of the season is I think we're going to see Mobius on a jet ski.
Yay!
So
hope so.
Yep. So Frank, you got any final thoughts or predictions or theories or hypotheses or?
I mean, I like Brittany's prediction. I think it would be very poetic if Mobius is the one that brings him down. With help from Mobius, with help from Sylvie and Loki, especially Sylvie. I mean, her life was totally stolen from her because of the TVA. So I think Mobius, Loki, B-15, those three people have the most to gain from destroying the very thing that took away their livelihood. So.
Okay, that about does it. Brittany, if people want to find us on social media, how can they do that?
So find the Watchers in the Basement on social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to head over to our YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment, and we will write back to you. We do appreciate everyone thus far who have watched our videos, left their likes, even dislikes. Hey, that's cool. You know, you don't have to like everything that we talk about, or if you have a different opinion, be sure to share your opinion again in the comments. So also, if video podcasting is not your thing, we also have our podcast available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, and more, thanks to anchor.fm. And last but not least, we would appreciate your help in spreading the word about the Watchers in the Basement by using hashtag Watchers Basement all across social media. And let's continue growing our audience. And we certainly do appreciate the subscribers we have all across platforms. And yeah, you know, I'm looking forward to doing Black Widow with you guys. That's coming out this week, and we'll be covering the season finale of Loki next. And George, Frank, and I, we're going to be covering Gangs of London, because that was a show. That was a show, y'all. So be sure to tune in to that for the future.
Okay, thank you, Brittany. So for Brittany, for George, for Frank, this is Justin saying we'll see you next week. And we do thank you for watching and listening to this. We appreciate it very much. But we'll see you next week for the finale of Loki.